Okay, everybody, welcome to Animal Care Center's Client Education Night. It is the first one of the year, so happy 2018, everybody. We're really, really glad, all of you that came, really, especially my employees. And Snout Snacks folks, Debbie and Cindy. Tonight we have a great program by Dr. Lauren, who is my newest doctor. She is my newest doctor on common winter hazards for pets. But all of my doctors are here, so if you haven't met them, which most of you have, Dr. Verona, raise your hand. Dr. Verona, goddess of homeopathic medicine, acupuncture, and all things natural. Dr. Steph, where are you? There you go. Can you raise your hand so we can see my phone? Dr. Steph is primarily interested in hospice, but she's also an amazing practitioner, great diagnostician. Dr. Lindsay? Dr. Lindsay is our rock star Army vet who's just kind of amazing in all things internal medicine. She's working on her boards in internal medicine. And Dr. Kara, last but not least, most important, doctor of my heart, who has practiced with me for the longest of anybody. What? Oh, she had? Oh. Oh. Oops, sorry. Well, anyway. So Dr. Kara is here too, as well. So say hi to our doctors. Dr. Lauren is going to give her first presentation ever at one of these client education nights, so be really nice to her and enjoy, ask questions. I'll have the microphone, and if you're going to ask questions, please just raise your hand and I'll run over with the microphone because we want people on Facebook Live to be able to hear what you're asking. Okay? Thanks, everybody.
Hey everyone, I'm really happy to be here for my first one, and I'm really happy that we're having such a nice outcome tonight. And I'm really excited to teach you about some of the common winter hazards that we see for pets in Utah or cold weather states. So one of the first things I want to talk about is cold exposure. So this is one of the most common things that we see with winter months and cold winters. We need to know the limits for our pets and how cold is too cold. So when we take our pets outside, it really depends on the breed, the size, and how used the animal is to being outside. So it's very different when we're talking about a Malamute or a Husky versus a hairless Mexican dog. So we've got to take into consideration each pet individually. A pet's normal temperature, it's about the same for dogs and cats, is about 100 to 102.5 plus or minus. And so when we're getting colder than that, we're starting to see different symptoms and different things that can happen. So one of the most common things is frostbite. So it's a natural response in the body. Of course, the extremities and our toes, ears, when we're really cold and we're fighting for survival, that's not the priority for us. So we're trying to maintain our internal organs, the brain, the liver, kidneys, nice and warm. So the blood flow is gonna go out away from the toes and the ears, up to the internal organs, save the most important things. But unfortunately, animals, if they stay outside, that can be very painful and cause a lot of damage that can be irreversible. So we want to make sure we're fighting frostbite and keeping our pets nice and comfortable. Frostbite is the first place we can start, and if we get so cold, we can face hypothermia. Hypothermia is very, very serious. We'll start seeing signs of intense shivering, paleness. It can affect the heart and slow the heart, and at that point it can even cause disease. So, death. So we want to make sure that we keep our animals nice and comfortable, and we'll talk about ways to do that. Jonesy here, our technician, has come up with a little kit and different things that we can do for our pets, and it's going to be great. You're going to see a lot of little things that we can do. If you do happen to have an outdoor pet, an outdoor dog that that can sustain the cold better, like a Malamute or something like that in Utah, they actually love the cold. I do suggest that we have certain things put in place for them. So we have to have some bedding that's very warm. Ideally, if we can keep them in the garage or a barn or something like that. We want to make sure that they're protected from the wind, snow, rain, etc. I even saw that they had some really cool, when I was doing my research, some heated water bowls that you can plug in and keep them, make sure that their water is always fresh and available and doesn't freeze over. One very concerning thing that we see a lot with small animals is antifreeze toxicity. It happens to be in a lot of different things. So windshield wiper fluid, antifreeze, coolant. I even saw snow globes. If people have them at home and they happen to break. Or I thought this was an interesting one with the basketball hoops. The bottom that keeps it upright has some fluid in there, and sometimes they have the ethylene glycol component to it, just so it doesn't freeze in the winter too. And the ethylene glycol can taste really sweet, is odorless, and can be very tempting to both cats and dogs, and that is a very, very serious condition if they start licking that. If you see or you suspect anything, I would consider going to the veterinarian pretty much right away, because we have to act really quick on those toxicities. So unfortunately, the mortality rate is pretty high because we have to act so quickly. We'll see 3 different phases with that. So the first phase, they'll act drunk, and we'll see some drooling, just uneasiness for the first 6 to 12 hours, depends if it's a cat or a dog. After that, they tend to look a little better clinically, and then, but the damage is actually happening internally. So we want to have them get some fluids and get immediate veterinary care, because the third phase is kidney damage, which can be irreversible, and that is very serious. Unfortunately, these are some very sad cases, and I mean, before I started vet school, I never knew about it, about windshield wiper. Did you guys know about it here? Anybody?
I knew about antifreeze, but not windshield wiper.
Yeah, and things like the snow globe and that you can have in your house. Yeah, I had no idea. I put a whole list of, I don't know a lot of people that have taxidermist preservation solutions at home commonly, but it was one on the list. Even skin lotions, that one was surprising to me.
How long does it take before the damage is permanent?
So from what I could read, within the first 12 hours, if you haven't seen a vet at that point, it can be pretty much permanent. And they had some pretty nice research with dogs that 100% made it if you come back in the first hour, 75% got through it if you got within the first 8 hours, and after that it really declined pretty quickly. Casey?
What in skin lotion is toxic to them?
We're all worried about that.
Yeah, well, if there's any component that's related to the ethylene glycol. And I was really surprised to hear that they actually did put that in skin lotion. Any other questions? Okay, so again, this is a straightforward one, but always be careful. Cats and other critters, even raccoons and things, have a tendency to seek warmth, and if they're outside in the winter, they can hide under your hood or your wheel, try to get warm. So it might be a little obnoxious for your neighbors, but tapping on the hood before you go or honking is always a safe measure before you leave. Better safe than sorry. Always make some noise.
How many people in here have had cats injured or maimed or killed because they were hiding under the hood where it was warm? And it's
That's a
really
good
common.
amount.
It's
A
like
good
half
amount
of the room.
people here, and those are really sad cases. Yeah. Carbon monoxide poisoning. So again, if you park in a garage indoors and you keep your car on, that actually works for humans too. We want to make sure we're safe. We're not breathing the unhealthy carbon monoxide. It's a sneaky one because you can't really smell it, and we'll see it with heaters, the parking a car in the garage, or kerosene space heaters. Slippery sidewalks. This is one for, several of these apply to humans too, but we want to make sure that we're keeping our pets safe. If the sidewalk doesn't look nice and plowed and nice, might not be worth it. We can have some dislocations and fractures and things like that, and even for us. So there are different things we can do. There's some booties or that help with the grip for pets, but really I would avoid those areas altogether, both for humans and for pets.
Slippery sidewalks, you'd be surprised how easy it is for a little old dog to fracture a leg or to dislocate a hip on a slippery sidewalk. So be safe, be careful, put booties on your pets or walk them on gravel.
So the next one was road salts and the ice melting components here that we put on sidewalks very commonly. So these can be irritating and toxic for different reasons. So topically, they can cause dermal irritation and cracks in the paws and can be very painful and deep cracks. So we want to make sure to wipe down our pet's paws every time they come in the house and make sure that we can clip and clean between the toes, the fur, the extra fur. That helps for snow as well as bringing in the salt that can stay between the toes. Additionally, as we all know, dogs tend to lick things quite a bit and eat things, and those can be very toxic internally and cause a lot of GI issues and vomiting and things like that. So while I was getting ready for this, I was reading up on different kinds of road salts. So a lot of them, you can have just the sodium chloride, which is basic salt. Toxic if your animal drinks or licks it, depending on the amount, you can have some very bad side effects. So rush into a vet. I mean, it is common sense, just don't let them lick it. There are other things like calcium chloride components that are also toxic. From what I could find, the urate-based ones were the safest, but they still aren't safe. I couldn't find one that was for sure safe. There were a few online that were recommended for pets, but they all can cause toxicity. So if your pet ingests it, better safe than sorry. You take them to the veterinarian. But if you're going to use one, maybe a urate-based one might be the best option. So here's an example of a really chapped, little underpaw from the ice, the road salt. And they actually, on this one, they put coconut oil, and it really helped.
Do you have any products that you recommend, Dr. Lauren, for protecting paws from salt and cold and stuff?
I recommend, there are different kinds of booties. I don't have a specific brand in mind here.
I think Samantha has used, where's Samantha? Has
Yeah, we were
used
trying-
Musher's Secret on Caesar because his feet are super, super sensitive and tender. Tough Pad and Musher's Secret are two really good ones to help
Tough
keep.
pads. Right. Yeah, and I think one of the important things is really wiping them down every time they come in.
Or even rinsing them off.
Mm-hmm.
The same for when they get those little balls of ice and snow in between their toes. I've also seen little cuts and rub spots when they get the little.
So I would say also the same for little snowballs that they get in between their toes. So even like my kiddo has really long feathers between his toes, and when we trail run in the winter, I have to come in and get all of those out in between his toes because they'll actually rub and scratch his toes when we're running.
Thanks.
I'll hold it.
Any questions so far? No? Okay. Do any of you actually use booties? Yeah. Great.
The question was for me or for the dog?
Everyone.
Charlotte Foster just got little yellow rubber booties, those little balloon booties, because she gets really cold feet.
Wiping off their feet.
Yeah.
Every time they come inside,
Every
you never
time.
know what somebody else has laid down. So just wipe feet. Get them used to it.
Yeah. Thanks. Another biggie, so it's going to sound like a toxicology talk, but a lot of the things that we do see in winter are related to toxins. So rodenticides. It seems like this can be a year-round issue, the ethylene glycol too, but of course it seems like it's been used more frequently in the winter. A lot of rats and mice try to come in and get warm, so people, tend to use rodenticides a little more during the winter. So rodenticides, there are 4 main different kinds, and I put them down right here. They're all toxic. If your pet gets into it, they're all very serious, and we want to act quickly on those. They're very, very potent toxins. They're meant to kill rodents, so it can definitely kill some of our pets. So if we have any suspicion, feel free to come to the vet right away.
I would say that's not a feel free to come to the vet. I would say that's go to the nearest ER
Yeah,
immediately,
right away.
if not sooner.
Yeah.
This summer, Charlotte Foster got into rat poison, and I had her down at Animal Care Center within 10 minutes, and she vomited up probably 2 softball sizes of decon. It
Yeah.
was horrible. It was awful.
The green
So,
little. Yeah.
The new products are so scary because they don't cause the clotting issues. So
Some of the new products are even more scary because they don't cause the typical clotting issues. They actually cause seizures, and they're not nearly as easily to treat as we used to think with the rodenticides. So if you have any concerns or you use any of those products and your pet is acting off at all, seek veterinary attention immediately.
Yeah.
yeah, not
And-
reversible, Dr.
And
Karas.
there's one that I didn't put on the slide here that we actually saw last week was a rodent glue trap, and that did not turn out too good. So I would stay away from any of these as much as you can. Okay, another fun one. Hopefully we're all done with feasting because it's been a lot. But there are a lot of nauseous foods that we eat during the winter. Of course, and all of these are year-round too, but it just seems like we overindulge in the winter, Christmas time. So yeah, coffee, chocolate, macadamia nuts. Raw yeast dough is an interesting one that I didn't know before vet school either. If your animal gets into raw yeast dough, getting into the stomach is a perfect little environment for the yeast to grow. And the dough expands and it actually turns into, CO2, so gas, and then alcohol. So they'll act drunk and then get drunk, and it can be very serious. So yeah, that's kind of an interesting one. Alcohol, we typically don't give our pets straight up alcohol, but there are a lot of things that during the winter they can get into, a lot of cakes, cookies, little chocolates, so that's a double whammy with the chocolate. So we want to be careful with that. Yeah. Grapes and raisins are very toxic for the kidneys. So again, any of these, we'll have, come on in and we'll have them hopefully throw them up pretty quickly. Xylitol is an interesting one. That's a sweetener, a sugar replacer that's in a lot of sugar-free chewing gum. Now they're putting it more and more in peanut butter. That's one to be careful about because a lot of times we'll give our animal peanut butter in order to pill them because they like it. Always check that there's no xylitol. It can bring their blood sugar very low and cause some seizures. Dr. Kara?
So as of this week, I had a client buy fish oils at Costco with xylitol.
Did you guys hear that?
So as of this week, there was a product at Costco that's fish oils for humans with xylitol in it. Toxic
Yeah.
completely to that pet.
It's scary because it's in more and more products and things that we wouldn't necessarily suspect.
Dr. Lauren, I don't know if you said this, but 15 minutes after ingestion of xylitol, permanent, irrevocable, irreversible liver damage is done. Permanent. Dead dog or cat.
Table scraps, fatty foods, we always have the risk of pancreatitis, and that's a good outcome. If we start talking about bones and things like that, chicken bones, there's always the risk of a foreign body, and these can all be scary. So this is definitely by This is by no means a complete list of things, but these are some of the most common ones that we'll see around the holidays. Medications. So again, during the winter and around the holidays, we can have some guests at home. I thought it was interesting that they were saying that they see a lot of guests that'll leave their suitcases on the floor, and then some dogs will come in and, if you have your medication in a Ziploc or something like that that's not really secure, a lot of accidents happen that way. So keeping your medication in a really secure box that they can't get into, hanging purses up high, putting guests' luggage in a secure place, making sure that we're never putting human medication by dog medication, and that stands for dog medication too, because they could get into their own and get an overdose, so always be really safe with the medication. Here's a list of some of the human medication. I won't read them all specifically, but these are some really common human medications that can be very serious if an animal gets into them. Okay, so I don't know if any of you still have their Christmas trees up, but I wanted to mention this. So Christmas trees, as we all know, for cats are pretty irresistible. I had a hard time picking with some of these pictures, so I just put them all on there. So there are several different things. There are hazards on those. And, tinsel is one of them. It's really thin, very tempting for a cat, very fun. It just looks exactly like a toy. The risk of a foreign body here is very serious. They typically ingest them and they can't pass them through. This is one of the x-rays that I pulled up. So we call that a linear foreign body, and their GI has the normal movement, try to push things through the GI, but the tinsel is preventing things to move and is stuck in there. So the whole bowel here is all clumped up and stuck. So that's what a linear foreign body looks like, and that's the risk that we can have with tinsel. Ornaments, again, I just saw a dog a couple weeks ago that had eaten an ornament amongst other things, so always be careful with that. Pine needles, again, the sap can be very irritating, as well as the potential foreign body, and those are very sharp and can poke through, so those are really dangerous. Electrical wires, we always want to make sure that the wires are taped, securely, that the animals don't really get into this, because the risk of this is a tough one because it's a French word, so I can't say it in English. Electrocution.
That was perfect. Say it in French. I think you say it in French too, Dr. Lauren.
Electrocution. There you go.
Beautiful.
So the risk of electrocution is really high if they bite them, and those are serious. At best, it's a mouth injury and a burn. At worst, we can lose a pet that way. And gifts. Gifts are always another hazard between the ribbon and the paper and things, and again, they look really fun for cats. So just keep an eye on everything and make sure, ideally, cats are kept away, and even dogs, and just can't get into those. The next topic is plants. Again, this is not a comprehensive list, but these are some very common ones. And I thought it was interesting to find out which ones were actually toxic and which ones weren't as much, but there was a lot of common belief. Like poinsettias can be toxic and irritating, but they're typically not an emergency. Things like holly and mistletoe, lilies, dandelions, those are very serious. We want to bring the animals into the vet right away. Daffodils, amaryllis, and the Christmas cactus, on the other hand, was a non-toxic one too. Candles, fires, and space heaters. Animals, it's really tempting to get into all of those things. Just keep them away. It's just like a little kid. You just want to make sure they don't get into things. This picture represented to me everything that, a lot of things that an animal could get into during Christmas. It was just, I was just missing a feast there with all the food. Frozen bodies of water and snow stands for us too. If we can keep our pets on leashes, they can see things that are tempting, and it can be tricky. We can think that the layer of ice is a lot thicker than it actually is, and then we just want to avoid some of these situations. And if you can keep your dog on a leash near a lake and parks, and let's just be safe and make sure that we don't get into any scary situations like this.
If your dog does break through the ice, what should you do?
I would call for help right away, and yeah.
Should you go out on the ice and get your dog?
No, but I know
know
it's
you
really
want to.
tempting. Yeah,
We probably all would,
yeah.
but it's a really bad idea.
The correct answer would be no, but we would all probably jump in and try to, yeah.
Call 911 and then jump in, so they'll be there to save you.
Yeah,
Hang on, we got one more question.
sure.
I was just going to say, if you do go out on the ice, make sure you lay down flat so you're not going to break through. So,
Oh,
because I know everyone in here would do that. Because I would
Yeah.
do that. So,
Well, thanks.
Just made, if the dog fell through, even if you're lying flat, you're probably going to fall through too.
Yeah.
So call 911 first, alert them that a human and a dog have fallen through a pond, and then go get your dog.
This one stands mainly for dogs that do stay outside longer term. Undernourishment and dehydration during the winter months, it's a great idea to increase calorie intake, and always check that they have fresh water that didn't freeze over. For our dogs that are spoiled and spend a lot of time on the bed, they typically don't need to eat more. A lot of our pets are actually overweight, but this is mainly for outdoor dogs or cats. I thought this one, I just had to throw it in because I thought it was funny. So tongue injuries, again, try to avoid metal bowls or things that can, be damaging to the tongue. Plastic or ceramic is ideal. I just couldn't resist throwing that one. An interesting one was lost pets. So I saw that the number of lost pets, and especially dogs, seemed to increase during winter months. A lot of it has to do with the fact that the snow and their smell can decrease the likelihood of them knowing where they are and getting back to their house, and it disperses smell a little more. I actually learned this reading up on this because I didn't know about this, and I thought that was an interesting one. So once again, when you're on a walk, keep your dog on the leash. Make sure you have them close and know where they are at all times. Dry skin is another one that we see a lot. The cold can take the moisture out of the coat, and so we can do some baths that are very soothing for the skin, or there's some options with essential fatty acids and things like that that can keep the coat of your animal nice and healthy.
Probably a good idea to ask your vet about
Yeah,
your supplements so that we don't get Costco
Yeah.
supplements with fatty acids and bad xylitol.
Yeah, always, because we'll come up with the correct dose and exactly what we need. And oatmeal-based shampoos are really good for the coat health, and they're really soothing to the fur. Seasonal arthritis. So arthritis doesn't just, if your dog has arthritis, it'll have it's there. But, sometimes we'll see the pain or the comfort level that is, more pronounced during the winter. So here are some signs for arthritis in general that you can easily check for at home. So is your dog whimpering? Does your dog seem more lethargic? Is your dog not wanting to get up as much from the couch or go on walks, and just, is slow in the morning, and just general discomfort can be a sign of arthritis. In the cold months, that can be increased. There are definitely some options medically and also the whole side of the non-medical side of things with Dr. Verona and with the acupuncture?
Yeah, we have a lot. This is Dr. Steph. We have a lot of great medications to help with that. One thing you don't want to give is aspirin, which
We
I
had
think a
one
lot
today.
of people presume is safe for their dogs because it is sold over the counter at PetSmart or Petco. But that has a significant risk of gastrointestinal bleeding. So please don't give any over-the-counter anti-inflammatories to your pet. Please see your vet so they can get you something that's going to work and also be safe.
We have some very effective, great medicine specifically studied and tailored for our pets. So yeah, let's not venture into any of the human medicine because we can have some scary outcomes with that.
Dr. Lauren, one other thing about arthritis, not just lethargy and not moving much, but stand up, turn around, lie down. Stand up, turn around, lie down. Dogs just not being able to get comfortable is a really classic sign of arthritis. They get up a lot like I do. They kind of take their time to get up. And once they're finally up, they're like, oh, that was hard. I'm going back down. So that's a really great sign. Did you mention Aleve, naproxen sodium?
Yeah,
Okay.
that was on my list of the human medicine.
I can't read your thing from here.
Yeah.
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 If anybody wants this PowerPoint, by the way, we can send it to you
Yeah.
afterwards since it's so tiny to read. No Aleve. One Aleve will kill your dog. One Aleve. One naproxen. One naproxen sodium will kill your dog. No ibuprofen. Takes about 3 doses of ibuprofen to perforate a stomach.
Acetaminophen for cats.
Yeah. Yeah. No acetaminophen for acetaminophen for cats.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks. So these were just we already mentioned some of these, but just for myths quickly. So the number one, flea, tick, heartworm prevention isn't needed during the winter. That is not true. Sam and I were just chatting the other day. She lives in Syracuse, and she had mosquitoes in her house a couple days ago. And mosquitoes are the vector for heartworm. So even though we are in Utah and it is cold, we want to make sure that we keep him on the medication year-round, especially if you travel on top of it. But yeah, I couldn't believe that we saw mosquitoes a couple days ago, but yeah, let's just keep him on it. Myth number 2, dogs don't need sweaters because they have their own fur coats. So again, it depends on the breed, but especially when it gets really, really cold, let's go ahead and gear them up, and Jonesy is going to tell you all about it in a second. Myth number 3, you only have to worry about dehydration in the summer. Again, we spoke about that, but that is not true. The signs can be subtle, but we want to make sure that they always have access to water. Myth number 4, I don't need to dry off my dog after a walk in the snow. So again, we just talked about the ice melt and all the different things that they can be exposed to. So we want to make sure that we clean them off nice and comfortable, and make sure that there's no snow between the toes, and they should be good to come in the house. Any questions? I added on here the Pet Poison Helpline. This is a very, very great website with a lot of information about each point we touched, especially all the toxins. It'll give you a lot more information about typical symptoms and how serious it is. And, they have an entire list of, everything you can think of. This is a great website. Yeah.
If your pet's, a good note is that if your pet's microchipped through home again, if you pay for the annual registration, phone calls for poison control are included. So for like a $20 registration, you get $64 each call to poison control. Paid
That's-
for the whole year. It's priceless.
That's great, because I think the basic phone call is at least $55 just to get to speak with.
The mic wasn't on.
Oh, the typical just phone call I think is at least $55 just to get a hold of someone there. So that sounds like a great idea. Yeah, and
It's a really great resource.
yeah.
Every penny.
Or on the flip side, you can log on our website and do our telehealth, our Utah Virtual Vet app, and get a hold of one of us in a pretty
Yeah.
short amount of time.
Yeah. Well, if we don't have any, thanks. if we don't have any more questions, Jonesy is gonna help us go through some little outfits, a little fashion
What
show.
a nice job. And that was Dr. Lauren's first presentation, and she's the only presenter in the history of these to actually go on the right amount of time, 45 minutes. So well done to you. Okay, tear it up.
So Jonesy and Twig are gonna demonstrate.
Okay, so. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Or just introduce yourself.
Kara
Yeah.
Jones is a technician at the Animal Care Center in Bountiful. She's worked for us for how many years?
I worked for the dog park for 2 and then at the animal care center for 2.
So she's experienced technician. She's a rock star. She goes by Jonesy because we have so many Karas in our life. So there you go.
Okay, well, if you're like me, you're crazy. You're a crazy dog lady for sure. So, kind of winter care kit is what I have, and I always have this in my car, usually wherever I go. A little excessive, but these are just some options that you have, and Twig's gonna be my little helper. So, this is his one layer. Usually, I think of it as if I'm wearing more than one layer, my dog, who has little to no hair, needs more than one layer as well. So he usually has this on at home because he's a baby. Then he has his own little winter coat that obviously has to be embroidered. Duh.
He's not spoiled at all.
So then you got number 2 layer. And then while you're getting him dressed, you gotta, distract him from not being able to move because there's so many layers. Another thing to have is a blanket. If you don't have a jacket, or yeah, exactly. If you don't have a jacket or anything, or you don't have enough jackets, which in my case is never the case, you gotta have a blanket. So, blanket. Dr. Lauren mentioned to wiping off their paws or drying them off when they play in the snow, so towel. Water. I usually leave it in my car filled up. If it's frozen, obviously, that's not going to do me any good. So I have 2 of them. One I keep inside and one I keep in my car. Well, my ears get cold. So his ears get cold. So he's got to wear his little hat.
Train him beforehand.
Yeah, he's obviously very used to this. He gives me like a 15-minute heads up before he has to go potty because he knows he has to get dressed. Yeah, it does. And then your neck is going to get a little cold. So obviously, the scarf is necessary. Yeah, exactly.
You can tell he's used to it.
I guarantee if you go to Jonesy's car though, she doesn't have this stuff for herself.
No. Usually I'm freezing and my dog's just fine. He's panting in the car. If that's not enough layers, you always got to have an extra coat. But what if it's raining? You got to have a raincoat. Obviously. Yeah, also embroidered Land's End. This I have, it's water resistant, so if you put it on your car, obviously it's going to stop the water from making him even colder, but it's also going to keep him warmer. So, like in your car, on your seats, when you put him in there after playing in the snow and you wipe him off with your towel, that's what I have. I could only find 2 booties because he hid the rest from me. But when I first got him, I took him outside and he would whine and spread his paws out. I was like, what are you doing? What is your problem? You're a dog. You're supposed to be used to this snow. And I didn't think about it. Like, that would super hurt if I was walking bare feet in the snow trying to do my business. So at first he hates them.
So
At
these
first-
are the booties
yeah.
Jonesy recommends.
And I honestly just got these at TJ Maxx. Super simple. It's just what he needed. He hates them at first, but once he's outside, he's like, all right. My feet don't hurt. So we'll just. For the most part, I mean, it takes about. Okay, not for the most part. It takes about 5 minutes for them to get off.
So is patent leather one of the things that you can grab or get?
You can honestly use like balloons. Yeah. But I mean, if you want to get these embroidered.
Too, and the military working dogs use those to do like tactical stuff. They will not come off. I use those for my dogs when we camp and stuff, so we won't poke holes in our tent. But he trails on.
He's loving it.
Another thing I usually have is hot hands. It's mostly for myself because obviously he's pretty golden right now. But I mean, if there's a chance, these are always a good idea too. Extra food, just in case you get stuck in the snow for a lot longer. Flashlight, just in case you have to go outside. Look for him. You never know. At this point in time, he kind of wants to run away from me. It's always good to have, though. His first aid kit. What was that?
Reflectors so you can see them.
That comes with the raincoat. Built-in reflectors. I always have his first aid kit, just in case he does slip on the ice or whatever, and you have to bandage it up. Take him to the vet afterwards. Poop bags. You know, he's got to do his business. And water bowls, food and water bowls. So these are just some of the things I
That
usually
aren't
have.
metal.
Yeah, some of the things. I always have these things. For myself, I'm usually pretty cold, but as long as he's warm, I'm happy.
You guys, thank you all so much for coming. It is, I think, really close to, it's 10 minutes till 8. If you haven't eaten or had a bottle of water or a glass of wine, please feel free to stick around and join us and get to know my doctors a little bit better, or any of us, or my technician. Thank you again very much for coming. We appreciate it a lot.